Welcome back to 1337, The Future of Podcast. I'm Max, and with me today is Sophia.
Hi, everyone.
Today we're diving into a historical mystery as it unfolds in this novel, A Journey Through Grief.
Yes.
It takes us to World War II France, where we're going to uncover hidden codes, navigate wartime betrayals, and we follow a fight for survival, all revolving around a mysterious artifact called the Codex.
It's interesting how the author uses this hunt for the Codex to drive so much of the plot.
Yeah.
This isn't just some dusty old book. It's a trilogy of medieval texts rumored to possess supernatural powers that were smuggled out of a 13th century Cathar stronghold.
Wait, the Cathars, weren't they considered like heretics by the Catholic Church?
Exactly.
That adds a whole other layer to this.
Imagine the secrets that these books might hold, especially since the Cathars were so persecuted during the Albigensian Crusade.
Oh, wow.
Their beliefs challenged the authority of the church, so you can bet those books contain some pretty explosive ideas.
Okay, so we have this powerful artifact potentially containing knowledge that could disrupt the established order.
Right.
No wonder it attracts dangerous figures, as the outline suggests.
Yeah.
But before we get too deep into that, let's meet the main characters navigating this treacherous world.
We have Sandrine, a courageous young woman who is forced to deal with some horrific trauma inflicted by her enemies.
Oh, wow.
She's resourceful and determined and finds herself drawn into the resistance despite her initial hesitation.
Okay.
Then there's Raoul, a man on the run from the authorities after this demonstration and who is deeply involved in the resistance. And his path is marked by a refusal to just stand idly by while his country is occupied.
It sounds like both Sandrine and Raoul are complex characters shaped by the harsh realities of war.
Yeah.
But what about their relationship? The outline hints at a romantic connection.
Their connection is intense but constantly threatened by the danger surrounding them.
Okay.
They meet during a Bastille Day demonstration that erupts into chaos, highlighting the constant tension of life under occupation.
Speaking of which, the story unfolds in occupied France, specifically in Carcassonne. What's the atmosphere like there?
Imagine a city under constant surveillance.
Right.
Nazi patrols, checkpoints, the ever-present threat of arrest.
Yeah.
The novel really captures that fear and uncertainty of life under Nazi rule. We even get glimpses of specific locations like the Caserne Laperine, a military barracks, and the Hotel Terminus, where German soldiers are housed, adding a sense of realism to the setting.
It sounds incredibly oppressive.
Yeah.
But in the midst of this, there's a glimmer of hope. The resistance network, Citadel.
Yes.
What can you tell us about their activities and the challenges they face?
Citadel is a fascinating example of a resistance movement. They're distributing underground newspapers, sabotaging infrastructure, and even rescuing prisoners.
Wow.
But it's not all smooth sailing.
Right.
There's internal conflict and suspicion, especially surrounding a member named Cesar Sanchez, adding a layer of complexity to their struggle.
So even within a group united against a common enemy, trust becomes a precious commodity. It makes you wonder, who can you rely on when everyone is living under such immense pressure?
Exactly. And that theme of trust is central to the novel. It plays out not only within the resistance, but also in the relationships between the main characters.
Okay, so we have this tense atmosphere, a resistance movement fighting for freedom, and a mysterious codex at the center of it all.
Right.
But there's another character we need to discuss. Audric Bayard. What's his connection to this story?
Bayard is a scholar with a deep understanding of the region's history.
Okay.
And most importantly, the secrets surrounding the Codex. He becomes a key figure because he seems to hold pieces of the puzzle that everyone else is desperately trying to assemble.
So he's not just a historian. He's almost like a gatekeeper of knowledge.
Exactly.
But whose side is he on? Is he helping the resistance, the Nazis, or playing his own game?
That's a great question. And the novel keeps us guessing about Bayard's true allegiances. He offers guidance to both sides, but his motivations remain shrouded in mystery.
It sounds like he's walking a tightrope, carefully navigating this dangerous world.
Yeah.
But speaking of dangerous, the outline mentions a hidden mountain pass called the Col de Pyrenees. What's its significance in this story?
The Col de Pyrenees becomes a vital escape route for the resistance. Imagine a hidden path through the mountains, not found on any maps.
Oh, wow.
It's the perfect way to smuggle refugees and fighters across the border, but it's also connected to the Codex and Bayard's past, adding another layer of intrigue to this location.
So it's not just a physical escape route, it's almost symbolic of a path to freedom and a connection to a hidden past.
Right.
But if the mountains represent a way out, there's also a place that represents confinement and oppression. the Liberate internment camp. Why does this location become a focal point?
Liberate is where the Vichy regime imprisoned those deemed undesirable, including political prisoners.
Okay.
And remember, the Vichy government collaborated with the Nazis. So this camp becomes a chilling reminder of the reach of their control. It's here that we see the brutality of the regime firsthand, especially through the actions of Captain Althie, a sinister figure working for the Gestapo.
The Gestapo, that sends chills down my spine.
Yeah.
It sounds like Liberate is a place where hope goes to die.
It's a very dark place.
And this Captain Althie, is he just another cog in the Nazi machine, or does he have a more personal stake in this story?
Althie is far from just a mindless follower.
Oh.
He's cunning and ruthless, but he's also driven by an obsession with the Codex.
Really?
Believing that it holds the key to unlocking ancient secrets and power.
So he's not just a villain. He's a complex character with his own motivations and desires.
Right.
That makes him even more dangerous.
Exactly.
But before we get too caught up in Althie's sinister plans, let's take a step back and explore how our main characters, Sandrine and Raoul, ended up entangled in this web of danger and intrigue.
I think that's a great place to shift our focus. Understanding their backstories and motivations is key to unlocking the deeper meaning of their actions.
Yeah.
After all, they're not just characters in a story. They represent individuals caught in the tides of history, forced to make difficult choices in a world turned upside down.
Yeah.
And that's something we can all relate to on some level. It's fascinating how the novel uses Sandrine and Raoul's personal journeys to illustrate the broader impact of the war.
Yeah.
Like, we see how it disrupts lives, forces people into impossible choices, and creates a climate of suspicion and fear, especially for those who dare to resist.
That really resonates, especially Sandrine's struggle to cope with the trauma that she experiences.
Right.
It's a powerful reminder that the effects of war extend far beyond the battlefield, leaving deep scars on the human psyche.
Exactly. And we see a similar struggle in Raoul, constantly looking over his shoulder, haunted by the threat of capture, which speaks volumes about the psychological toll of living under such oppressive conditions. Before we delve into the events at Liberate and that dramatic encounter with Althie, it's crucial to understand what brought Sandrine and Raoul together in the first place.
I agree. Let's rewind a bit and explore those pivotal moments that set the stage for their involvement in the resistance and their entanglement with the Codex. I'm particularly curious about Sandrine's journey. What was life like for her before the war turned everything upside down?
We first meet Sandrine as a young woman living a relatively carefree life in Carcassonne.
Okay.
She's surrounded by family and friends, enjoying a sense of normalcy that is about to be shattered.
Right.
It's that sudden loss of innocence, that abrupt transition from peace to war that makes her story so impactful.
That resonates with me. It's easy to forget how quickly life can change, how a single event can redefine everything you thought you knew.
Absolutely. And for Sandrine, that shift is further complicated by her sister Marianne's involvement in the resistance. Initially, Sandrine is hesitant to get involved, worried about the risks both for herself and her family, which is a perfectly understandable reaction, but also sets up this compelling internal conflict.
It's a conflict many of us can relate to, wanting to do what's right, but also fearing the potential consequences.
Yeah.
Speaking of conflicting emotions, let's talk about Raoul. What's his backstory?
Raoul's experience is quite different from Sandrine's. He's thrown into the conflict from the very beginning. Stationed on the Maginot Line during the initial German invasion, he witnesses the brutality of war firsthand.
Oh, wow.
Which fuels his determination to fight back against the occupation.
So he's not just fighting for an abstract ideal.
Right.
He's fighting against a very real and immediate threat.
Right.
That experience of the Maginot Line must have left a deep impression on him.
Absolutely. And after France's surrender, Raoul becomes increasingly disillusioned with the Vichy regime and their collaboration with the Nazis. He can't stomach their betrayal of French values, and this disillusionment pushes him further into the resistance. Okay.
It's almost like he's running towards the fight, driven by a fierce sense of patriotism.
So we have Sandrine cautiously drawn into the resistance and Raoul practically sprinting towards it.
Yes.
It sounds like their personalities and experiences create a fascinating dynamic.
Definitely.
How do their paths finally converge?
Their first meeting is quite dramatic. Remember that Bastille Day demonstration we mentioned earlier, the one that ends in an explosion?
Oh, right.
Yes.
The one that throws Sandrine and Raoul together amidst the chaos.
Exactly.
It sounds almost like fate orchestrated that encounter.
It certainly feels that way, and their connection is instant and intense, defying the turmoil swirling around them. But let's talk about that demonstration for a moment. It's clearly a major turning point in the story.
Right.
A moment where personal stories intersect with a larger historical event. What were the organizers hoping to achieve?
I don't know. Fill me in.
Well, it was a bold act of defiance against the occupation.
Okay. A statement that the spirit of resistance was alive and well, even in the so-called zone libre of Vichy France. Remember, this is the area not directly under Nazi control,
Right.
but still governed by a regime collaborating with the enemy.
Right, and that collaboration must have felt like a betrayal to many, especially someone like Raoul, who had experienced the horrors of war firsthand.
Exactly. The demonstration was a way to challenge that collaboration, to show the world that not all of France had succumbed to Nazi rule. It was a risky move, a public declaration of resistance that could have deadly consequences.
Yeah, it takes incredible courage to stand up in the face of oppression, especially when the stakes are so high.
Yes.
But amidst all this planning and defiance, Sandrine is still on the fence about fully committing to the resistance.
Yes, and her internal conflict is what makes her such a relatable character. She witnesses her sister Marianne's dedication, but she's also wrestling with her own fears, her own desire for safety and normalcy. Yeah. It's a very human struggle.
Absolutely. It's easy to admire those who bravely fight for a cause, but it's also important to acknowledge the very real fear that comes with taking such risks.
Right.
So we have this simmering tension, this act of defiance brewing in the heart of Carcassonne. And then everything explodes, quite literally, with that bombing at the cathedral.
Yeah.
Do we know who's behind it, or was it just a tragic accident?
That's a question that haunts the characters throughout the story. Initially, the blame is placed on the resistance, further fueling the crackdown by the authorities.
Oh, wow.
But as the story unfolds, we begin to suspect there's more to it than meets the eye. It's
right.
A classic mystery element that keeps you guessing and second-guessing everything you thought you knew.
It sounds like a well-crafted web of intrigue where nothing is as it seems.
Right.
But before we get lost in that web, I think it's time we turn our attention to Captain Authie, a character who seems to embody the darkness at the heart of this story. What can you tell us about him?
Authie is a chilling figure who represents the insidious nature of the Nazi regime, operating within the seemingly legitimate structure of the Vichy government. He's like a wolf in sheep's clothing, appearing to uphold the law while orchestrating a campaign of terror. His methods are ruthless, employing intimidation, manipulation, and even torture to crush any sign of resistance.
He sounds like a truly terrifying antagonist.
Right.
But what's his connection to the Codex?
Right.
Is he simply trying to eliminate the resistance, or does he have a more personal stake in the hunt for this mysterious book?
That's a question that drives much of the suspense in the novel.
Okay.
We know that Authie is obsessed with the Codex, believing it holds the key to unlocking ancient secrets and power. There's a historical and perhaps even an occult dimension to his motivations.
Wow.
Which makes him even more enigmatic and dangerous.
So he's not just a cruel bureaucrat. He's a man driven by a dangerous ideology and a thirst for forbidden knowledge.
Yes.
It sounds like a volatile combination.
It is.
But how does the Codex itself fit into all of this?
Right.
It's clearly the object that everyone is chasing, but we still don't know exactly what it is or why it's so important.
The novel keeps the Codex shrouded in mystery for much of the story, fueling speculation and driving the plot forward.
Okay.
We get glimpses of its contents, ancient rituals, prophecies, and strange symbols, but its true meaning remains elusive. It's like a treasure map leading to a hidden destination, and everyone from the resistance to the Nazis believes it holds the key to power.
It sounds like a race against time, with both sides desperately seeking to unravel the Codex's secrets. But you mentioned a hidden mountain pass, the Col de Pyrenees.
Right.
Could that be the destination this treasure map is leading to?
You're on the right track. The Col de Pyrenees isn't just an escape route. It's believed to be connected to the origins of the Codex, making it a focal point for everyone involved. This connection adds another layer of complexity to the story, weaving together physical landscapes with historical mysteries and personal journeys.
It's fascinating how the novel intertwines those different elements, creating a tapestry of intrigue and suspense. But I'm still curious about the supernatural elements hinted at in the outline. Does the novel explicitly confirm that the Codex has magical powers, or is it more of a metaphorical representation of something else?
That's a question that sparks a lot of debate among readers.
Yeah.
The novel is intentionally ambiguous, leaving room for interpretation. Some see the Codex's power as literal, pointing to the strange events that surround it and the obsession it inspires in characters like Othi. It's like a cursed artifact that brings misfortune to those who seek it.
I can see how that interpretation would add to the suspense and the sense of danger surrounding the Codex.
Exactly. But others argue that the Codex's power is more symbolic, representing the enduring allure of knowledge, the weight of history, and the potential for both good and evil that lies within human nature.
Okay.
It's not about magic spells, it's about the power of ideas and beliefs to shape our actions and our destinies.
So is it magic, or is it the power of belief and the stories we tell ourselves?
Right.
It sounds like the novel invites us to consider both possibilities, blowing the lines between reality and myth.
That's one of the things that makes this story so captivating. It challenges us to think about the nature of power, the allure of the unknown, and the role that belief plays in shaping our understanding of the world.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions swirling around this codex.
Yes.
Its origins, its true power, and who will ultimately possess it. But before we dive deeper into that mystery, I think it's time we take a closer look at the Resistance Network itself. What can you tell us about Citadel and their operations?
Citadel is a fascinating example of how resistance movements function during the war. They're not a large, organized army. They're a network of individuals, many of them ordinary citizens, who have come together to fight for their country. It's like a tapestry woven from different threads, each with their own unique story and motivations.
It's that human element that really draws me into stories like this. These aren't just faceless soldiers. They're individuals risking their lives for something they believe in. What kind of activities are they involved in?
Their activities are as diverse as their backgrounds.
Okay.
We see them distributing underground newspapers, gathering intelligence, sabotaging infrastructure, and even rescuing prisoners.
Wow.
They're operating on multiple fronts, utilizing whatever skills and resources they have to disrupt the Nazi war machine.
But they're not without their internal conflicts, right? We heard about the suspicion surrounding Cesar Sanchez.
Right.
That must create a lot of tension within the group.
Absolutely. Caesar is a complex character, and his allegiances are constantly questioned. He's a skilled printer, producing the leaflets and newspapers that help spread the resistance's message. But someone's feeding information to the authorities, and Caesar is a prime suspect.
Oh, wow.
This internal conflict adds a layer of paranoia to the story, forcing the characters to constantly question who they can trust.
So they're fighting a two-front war, against the external enemy and against the internal doubts and suspicions that can erode trust and solidarity.
Yeah.
Sounds incredibly challenging, both physically and emotionally.
It is. And the novel doesn't shy away from portraying the personal sacrifices and moral dilemmas faced by those involved in the resistance. It's a reminder that fighting for freedom comes at a cost.
Yeah.
And that cost is often paid in blood and tears. But despite the risks, they continue to resist, driven by a belief in something larger than themselves. A hope for a future free from oppression.
It's that unwavering spirit, that refusal to give in to despair that makes stories like this so inspiring. It reminds us that even in the darkest of times, the human spirit can endure and even triumph. But now I'm eager to delve deeper into the heart of the mystery. Where does this codex come from and why is it so coveted?
The Codex's origins are shrouded in myth and legend. It's said to be a trilogy of medieval books smuggled out of the Cathar stronghold of Montsegur back in the 13th century.
Hold on, the Cathars. Those are the folks deemed heretical by the Catholic Church, right? The ones who were brutally persecuted.
That's right. They held beliefs that challenged the authority of the Church and were targeted during the Albigensian Crusade. Their stronghold, Montsegur, was besieged and many Cathars were burned at the stake.
Wow, that paints a vivid picture of just how dangerous those ideas must have been. So this codex is potentially a relic of a lost faith, one that was violently suppressed. It makes you wonder what secrets it might contain and why it was so important to protect.
Exactly. The codex represents a hidden history, a different perspective on events that have been shaped by the victor's narratives. For the resistance, it could symbolize a resurgence of the Mideast independent spirit, a rallying point against oppression. But for the Nazis, it held a different kind of appeal.
And what would that be? Why would the Nazis be interested in a book from a suppressed religious group?
Well, you have to remember that the Nazis were obsessed with the occult, searching for artifacts and knowledge that could give them power and legitimize their ideology. They saw themselves as inheritors of an ancient Aryan tradition, and they believed the Codex might contain clues to that lost heritage, perhaps even justifications for their claims of supremacy.
So it's like a race against time. The resistance trying to use the Codex to inspire hope and resistance, and the Nazis seeking to twist its power for their own sinister purposes. It adds a whole new layer of urgency to their quest.
Absolutely. It's a classic battle between good and evil played out against the backdrop of a world war, with this ancient text potentially tipping the scales.
But let's not forget about Audric Bayard. He seems to be the one person who truly understands the significance of the Codex. What's his role in all of this? Does he align himself with either side?
Bayard is fascinating because he occupies a space between these two opposing forces. He's a scholar dedicated to preserving knowledge, but he's also deeply connected to the land and its history, almost like a guardian of secrets, a living link to the past.
It sounds like he understands that the Codex is more than just a book. It's a symbol, a repository of beliefs and traditions that have been passed down through generations. But how does he navigate this conflict? Does he actively help either side, or remain a passive observer?
That's a great question, and the novel keeps us guessing about Bayard's true allegiances. He provides guidance to both sides, offering cryptic clues and warnings, but his ultimate goal remains ambiguous. It's as if he's playing a strategic game, carefully moving pieces on a board that only he fully understands.
So he's like a chess master, anticipating moves and countermoves, but with the fate of the Codex and perhaps even the outcome of the war hanging in the balance, his role is so intriguing. But where does it all lead? Does anyone actually find the Codex, or does it remain lost, its secrets forever hidden?
That would be telling. But I can say that the novel's climax is both thrilling and thought-provoking. It forces us to confront the complexities of war, the enduring power of belief, and the choices we make in the face of unimaginable circumstances. I don't want to spoil the ending, but it definitely leaves you pondering the true meaning of the Codex and its impact on the characters' lives.
Okay, no spoilers. But you've definitely piqued my curiosity. I'm going to have to dive into a journey through grief and uncover the truth for myself. This has been a fascinating deep dive into a world of historical intrigue and wartime resilience. I feel like I've only scratched the surface of this story, and I'm eager to explore it further. It just goes to show how a good book can transport you to another time and place, immersing you in a world of adventure and mystery.
I completely agree. It's been a pleasure discussing this captivating novel with you. And for those of you listening, if you're as intrigued by this tale as we are, be sure to visit 1337podcast.com for more information about A Journey Through Grief and other books that explore similar themes. You might discover your next literary adventure.
That's right. We'll have links to the novel and other resources that will help you delve deeper into this fascinating period of history. Until next time, thank you for joining us on 1337, The Future of Podcast. Strength and honor. I am Spartacus.
Thanks for watching. Tap into 1337podcast.com.